In the grand palace at Jericho, the man who once ruled Judea with iron fists lay dying, his body deteriorating under the weight of his own cruelty. Herod the Great, the king who built monumental cities and temples, the king who betrayed his own blood, now faced the ultimate betrayal from his own decaying flesh. Paranoia had gripped him for decades, yet in his final moments, it was not his enemies that would finish him off, but a disease more horrific than anyone could imagine. A king who had murdered his wife, sons, and trusted allies now watched his kingdom unravel. His final, desperate orders were given from his sickbed to ensure that the land wept when he was gone. But did anyone mourn for him? Let's dive into the chilling death of Herod the Great. Herod's reign was built on the cold foundation of fear. A man who could move armies, construct wonders, and manipulate alliances like a puppet master, yet could not escape the darkness growing inside him. Born to a father with no royal blood, Herod was always an outsider, a puppet of Rome. The Jewish people never fully accepted him. He needed their respect, but the price of that respect was his soul. He murdered his own wife, Mariamne, a princess of Judea's royal line, when suspicion clouded his mind. His paranoia turned brutal, and no one, not even his children, was safe. His last days were an agonizing wait for death, but death would come in a way more grotesque than anyone could ever expect. Herod's body began to fail him slowly, almost imperceptibly at first. A fever, a stomachache, nothing out of the ordinary for a man of his age. But then the pain intensified. The itching became unbearable. The very flesh that had once commanded armies now betrayed him, as his kidneys failed and his body swelled. Modern historians speculate his condition could have been chronic kidney disease, or perhaps gangrene. But one thing is certain, this was no quick end. This was a slow, agonizing collapse. Herod, though in unimaginable pain, remained lucid, his mind as sharp as ever, trapped in a prison of decaying flesh. It was the same paranoia that had defined his reign, now consuming him from within, and in his final moments, he would do anything to retain control. As the illness took its toll, Herod's appearance became increasingly grotesque. His body bloated, his skin began to rot, and the stench of decay filled his palace. Servants recoiled at his sight, and even his physicians could do nothing to save him. Yet through it all, Herod remained sharp, issuing orders from his sickbed, unable to relinquish control, even in death's shadow. His paranoia continued to drive him, as he began to suspect his own son, Antipater, of poisoning him. The accusations were baseless, but for Herod, they were reality. He ordered the execution of his son, a final act of cruelty, even as his body deteriorated further. His kingdom, once built on power and manipulation, was now crumbling, not only from the inside out, but also from the very body of the king who ruled it. Herod's final days were filled with pain, but also terror. His body was ravaged by disease, yet his mind clung to life, determined to fight even as his physical self collapsed. The royal palace, once a place of grandeur, became a house of horrors. His skin turned black, his flesh became an open wound of rot. The disease spread quickly, devouring him alive. Josephus, the historian, detailed the grotesque scene. Herod's body became an ecosystem of decay, maggots infesting his genitals, and a stench so unbearable that no one could stand near him. Herod, who once controlled everything, now lay helpless, powerless. The very things he once used to control the lives of others, fear, terror, power, were now beyond his reach as he faced the ultimate humiliation of being consumed by his own flesh. Herod's physicians, desperate and confused, could do nothing but watch as his condition worsened. Their treatments, bloodletting, herbal remedies, and even amulets had no effect. Herod, still in agonizing pain, began to believe that his affliction was divine punishment. The king who had constructed monuments to his legacy, who had been hailed as a builder and ruler of magnificence, now felt the weight of his sins. Each day, new symptoms appeared, the agony never subsiding. Herod's mind remained sharp enough to understand his fate, yet his body betrayed him at every turn. As his empire began to crumble without him, the once great king was left alone in his palace, surrounded by whispers of betrayal, fear, and imminent death. He tried to hold on, but fate had already sealed his end. Herod's paranoia reached its peak in his final days. His sickbed became a courtroom where his fears were tried and sentenced without mercy. Every member of his family, once a part of his bloodline, was now a potential traitor in his eyes. His son Antipater, once the chosen heir, was now accused of plotting to kill him. The accusation, though unproven, was enough for Herod to condemn him to death. His orders were carried out, and Antipater was executed without hesitation. This final act of cruelty was a grim reminder of how far Herod had fallen. From a ruler who had once commanded respect to a dying man consumed by fear and suspicion. His last moments were marked by anguish, not only physical but emotional, as he continued to seek control over a life that was slipping away. As Herod's body decayed, so did his empire. His surviving sons, Archelaus, Antipas, and Philip, began to fight for control, each one believing they could claim the throne left by their tyrannical father. But the will he left behind only added to the confusion. Herod's kingdom was now in chaos, as his paranoia had been passed down through his bloodline. Archelaus, who inherited Judea, was cruel and incompetent, leading to revolts that caught the attention of the Roman Empire. Augustus, weary of the unrest, intervened, deposing Archelaus and placing the region under direct Roman control. The Herodian dynasty, once built on terror and manipulation, crumbled almost immediately after Herod's death. His final act of cruelty, ordering the execution of his son, was a stark reminder that no one, not even his blood, was safe from his wrath. Herod's death didn't bring peace. Instead, it marked the beginning of a power struggle that would tear his kingdom apart. His sons, Archelaus, Antipas, and Philip, fought for control, but none of them could match the fearsome legacy of their father. Archelaus, cruel and ineffective, was deposed by Rome, leaving the region in disarray. Antipas, who had escaped Herod's paranoia, ruled Galilee, but was remembered for his role in the execution of John the Baptist. Philip, the quietest of the three, ruled beyond the Jordan, but left no lasting legacy. The Herodian dynasty, born from ambition and bloodshed, faded into history. Herod's name, once feared and revered, became a symbol of tyranny and decay, a lesson for those who sought power through cruelty. The end of Herod the Great is not just a story of a tyrant's death. It is a cautionary tale, one that highlights the fragility of power and the inevitable decay of those who try to control it through fear. Herod spent his life building monuments to himself, yet in the end, those very monuments became his tomb. His death was not peaceful. It was a slow, agonizing descent into rot. His body, once a symbol of strength and command, became a decaying carcass, infested with maggots. His last days were filled with agony, both physical and psychological. Even as his body fell apart, his mind remained sharp, still scheming, still trying to control his fate. But death, like all things, is beyond control, and Herod learned this too late. In the years following his death, the legacy of Herod the Great lived on, not through his monuments, but through the story of his fall. The grand temples, the towering fortresses, and the cities he built remained, but they were no longer symbols of his greatness. They became tombstones to a man who thought he could escape death, who believed he could carve his name into eternity. His story is one of ambition, cruelty, and a relentless desire to control. It serves as a warning to those who seek power without understanding its cost. Herod's life was a testament to the dangers of paranoia and the delusion of immortality. In the end, his kingdom crumbled, and his name became synonymous with tyranny. Herod's story is a chilling reminder of the fragility of power and the consequences of living in fear. If you found this story as gripping as we did, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Your support means the world to us and helps keep these historical tales alive. Join us on this journey through history, where we explore the untold stories of rulers, conquerors, and the legacies they left behind. Share this video with friends who love dark history, and together, let's uncover the truth that lies hidden beneath the surface of time.